guys, today we are having our first session of the Scriptors Cut To, which is more of a series, a webinar series that we are going to do with various writers, and we'll talk about various aspects of screenplay writing. Before we actually move ahead, I would like to give a small introduction about the Scriptors. Scriptors is more of a writers platform or a small organization, a small initiative where we are bringing the new and talented writers along with the senior writers and trying to create a hub, a place of stories where and these stories that can be told bravely and can be taken to the places. The whole system is very pro writer, and we are trying to improve ourselves day by day. For if anyone wants to know more about the scripters, what we do, how we take the stories further, you people can go to our website, follow us on social media, and this is the first thing that we are starting. We will hopefully do more of such webinars. I'm hoping after today's session, you guys will be able to learn something new, understand something new. But first, let's start with the introduction to our guest, Shantanu Srivastava.
Hi, hello. Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Shantanu. Hi. So, everyone, Shantanu is the writer of Badhaai Ho and Sam Bahadur and many other stuff, which you guys don't know much about. Because lot of places he has written beautiful dialogues. Abhi recently he has written the dialogues for The Night Manager, which actually even got nominated for International Emmy. So thanks Shantanu taking out time coming here. So before we go ahead, Shantanu, and discuss about the topic of the day, I also first want to know the one very basic question that I almost ask all the writers. कब सोचा राइटर बनने का? अपने आप आया या यहाँ एंड अप कर गए?
इसके मतलब मेरे बहुत टाइम से, बहुत शुरू से, when I was about 13-14, when I was in school, I've always found writing really fascinating. And I used to write a lot when I was in school. I used to write the school plays, even from class 8th, 9th, original plays. I think the seed was sown in our family because my entire family is a teacher. My father used to be a lecturer, my mom a teacher, my sisters are teachers, and all of them, they read a lot and they write a lot. So that's something that went around in the family, and so it pretty much became something that the family does all the time. They read and they write, and they be funny, at least try to be funny all the time. So this is what's been happening in the family. So yeah.
So you have decided that you're gonna in a younger age only you have decided that कि अच्छा फिल्में लिखूंगा.
हाँ, मन तो था obviously फिल्में लिखने का, but I think what made me think about writing as a profession, I would say, you guys remember AXN? There used to be this channel called AXN.
Yes.
And AXN used to telecast English films in the afternoon and at night, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 8 at night.
Yeah.
And one day, I think I was in class 12th or maybe my first year of college at home in Haryana, and I was watching Taxi Driver.
Oh.
And I saw Taxi Driver and I watched the film, and that film really moved me. And I thought, oh, okay, somebody sat down, somebody must have written this film for this film to be made. And actually, I can see it across the world. So writing is something that I really would look at for my future. But as all middle class families go, I had to do my I had to take a slightly regular route. So I did my MBA in HR and marketing from Ford School of Management.
Okay.
And worked with American Express for a bit. And then I moved to Bombay to write.
So you moved to Bombay keeping things that I'm going to write.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I finished my MBA, and the next day I took a train. Akshat and I, we came to Bombay. We started living in a small, chaulish kind of a apartment near Film City.
Okay.
And I started interning with Tigmanshu Dhulia, because he was Akshat's cousin's some dur ka rishta. I used to get about 100 rupees a day for every day I used to go to his edit. He just finished Hasil. Hasil, everyone liked, and we also liked. So it's a great director. He's a great director to work with. And I interned on the post production of Charas, his next film. And then the film didn't do well. I didn't have any work. Akshat was working with an ad agency, so I went back to Delhi, and then I started working with American Express. So I worked there for about a year and a half, and then I got a job to write a 5-minute comedy show for a news channel. I wrote and directed that show. That was a twice a day kind of a show, and then somebody asked me, would I be interested in writing slightly longer formats, like a non-fiction show. That's when I moved back to Bombay. Yeah.
So when you moved back to Bombay, you started writing non-fiction first.
I've done a lot of non-fiction. I've been a writer of non-fiction shows for Colors, primarily for Colors. And I was a creative director with Endemol for about 2 years. So I CD'd a few non-fiction shows, and I wrote about 6-7 non-fiction shows. I've written a season of Fear Factor. I've written a season of India's Got Talent. I've written a season of MasterChef. I've written and been a creative director on at least 3 dating reality shows on Channel V.
You gave us a topic, huh? Now we are going to catch you up again for this non-fiction writing, because
non-fiction is a lot of fun.
That's something I'm so completely blind about it. I have no idea how to write non-fiction. I have non-fiction kaise likh sakte ho?
No, but I'm telling you, for writers who want to write films and long format fiction, I think a great training ground is writing non-fiction, because the pace is breakneck. You have to write everything now, deliver it now, write to a brief, be ready to change what you've written in about 30 seconds. It's a great training ground to be really fast.
Wow. Okay. So that we'll definitely catch you up for that. Definitely for maybe a next session, whenever you have time.
Yeah.
Coming to this. So when did Badhaai Ho happen?
So Akshat had this idea about Badhaai Ho in about 2001. Akshat Ghildial, who's another very, very good writer, multiple awards. Akshat and I used to be batchmates in MBA. We were in the same section, and we found each other reading the same book in the library when the rest of the batch was finishing their assignments. So we figured that, and he was reading a book about Banaras called Karma Kola. And we read that book and we started talking, and we figured out that, oh God, we're not cut out to be managers. We're not going to wear like a shirt and a tie and go to office. And he was also with me in Bombay for a bit in 2003. We've been friends and roommates forever since 2001. And Akshat had this idea very early on that he'd written a script like this, like a 30-second script for a TV series back in 2006-07.
Okay.
And things happened in our lives. I moved on to non-fiction TV, and he was getting a lot of promotions in ad agencies. But one day he decided that it's enough. We'll move to. By then, my Tevar had come and come and gone. And I was also looking for my next writing project for a film. And Akshat had this idea, and then we developed this idea, and then we pitched it to Amit, and then the film got made.
So, coming to your collaboration with Akshat, Tevar you have written on your own, right?
Yes. I collaborated with Amit Sharma, the director, on the screenplay, but dialogues were my own. Yeah.
Right. And Badhaai Ho is something that is your first collaboration with Akshat, or you guys have written earlier something together?
No, first official collaboration that got made and released. But we've been writing together on ideas, working on ideas for like as long as like about 20 years For about 20 years, we've been writing.
So
and
now
doing it.
that comes to the next big question. Like, you got a great co-writer who's so talented, and you know him since the time of the college and everything.
Yes, yes.
Is it easy to find a co-writer like that, or you always, it? So the question is that when you enter in the industry, it's not like that you are always going to get a chance to write with your favorite co-writer.
Absolutely.
How you are able to find the right co-writer if you are started to write all by yourself. So like today I pick up a story and I want to write a story, and I don't want to write it alone because I think I need a companion in that. So how to find a good co-writer around yourself? You think isse pad jayegi meri, I can write with him. Is there something do's and don'ts that you can find out? So that
so let's start putting a lens of money to every question that we will discuss in this idea of collaborative writing.
Right.
So one is that I don't have any work, right? And I have an idea. And I know for a fact that if I develop this idea and turn it into a story or a screenplay and a dialogue draft,
right,
I will pitch it to someone, right? And I have a feeling that I can't do it alone. Right? That's the time when it's a non-commissioned idea. That's the time when you yourself go out and look for collaborators, right?
Right.
That's one part of discussion. The other part is there is an idea which is already with a director or a producer,
right?
Or there is a remake, or there is a half-baked story which is in the drawers of a producer or a director, and they call you and they say that this is something that we want to do, and we already have a writer in mind, but we thought you two would be a great mix. So that's a different situation. For sake of today's discussion, let's just think of the scenario where there is no producer, there is no money coming in.
Right.
And so we can answer those questions accordingly. So, for someone who's trying out in the business of writing and has got nothing big published right now, so far, nothing big that's got released, and they're just ideas we're talking about, the overall approach should be more of acceptance when it comes to collaboration. Right. Usually, you know how this entire world works. People who watch the same kind of movies and the same kind of shows, they usually end up, talking with each other a lot more, right?
Right.
And it's a very, very small industry. It's about 5,000 to 7,000 people who are technicians.
Yeah.
You will bump into each other. If you start afresh now, in about 6 months, you'll probably bump into people, say about 50 writers in about 6 months.
Yeah.
You talk to them and you understand that there are writers who have things released, who've made things, and there are writers who are still working on projects. Things are in development. And you figure out that, okay, so this is the guy who liked Better Call Saul more than he liked Breaking Bad. So maybe he's a guy after my taste, and he might just help me building a character a little more than what I can do. Right. So the idea is to be aware of strengths and weaknesses. When I say be aware of strengths, be aware of someone else's strengths and be aware of your own weaknesses. अभी तुम दूसरे की वीकनेस देखने जाओगे ना कोलैबोरेटिव प्रोसेस में, तो तुमको सिर्फ वीकनेसेस ही दिखेंगी. So avoid that. See the things that your co-writer or the person that you want to collaborate with does well. So that really helps.
Is it important to know that person that well?
Say, I tell you about Sam Bahadur.
Yeah, of course. Bhavani.
Bhavani and Meghna. They're both stalwarts, right?
Right.
Razi had just come. They'd written Razi together.
Right.
Fantastic film. Did really well. People really liked the film.
True.
And Badhaai Ho also had just come in. So, and I remember it was not, uh, it was their call to me. So, Meghna and I were both represented by the same talent agency.
Right.
So, she reached out to her team and asked if I was available and would I be interested. And I'd seen Razi, right? For me, Razi, ये मेरा पर्सनल ओपिनियन, मुझे ऐसा लगा कि वो बहुत मजेदार फिल्म थी, बहुत सेंसिटिव, बहुत अच्छी किस्म की फिल्म थी, लेकिन वो मर्दों वाली फिल्म नहीं लगी। ठीक है, मैं एज एन ऑडियंस ना, मेरे को जीरो डार्क डार्क 30 टाइप का कुछ, मेरे को कुछ वॉर वूर में होता है, मेरे को ज्यादा मजा आता। आई एम जस्ट, तो
Yeah.
मुझे मुझे
Thrill
मुझे
of,
ये लगा ही नहीं था
thrill
कि
of.
ये दो वो लोग होंगे जिनके साथ मैं एक रूम में बैठ के कभी काम डिस्कस कर, राइट?
Right. Right.
And I met Meghna for the first time. I was hungover as hell because last night I must have been drinking till like 3, 4 in the morning. I went to meet her, conversation, and okay, so she comes from a family where, मतलब
Film star.
लिटरेचर, हाँ, मतलब लिटरेचर की लिखाई की बात हो, कहानियों की बात हो, सेंसिटिविटी की बात हो, समझने की बात हो, उसमें उनका कोई हाथ नहीं पकड़ सकता ना।
Correct.
तो मतलब पेडिग्री ही ऐसी है।
Correct.
और मैंने अपने मैनेजर को बोला, मैंने कहा मुझे नहीं लगता है यार, मैं, मेरा, ये लोग बहुत समझदार, बहुत पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, मैं रोग हूँ, मैं थोड़ा ज्यादा देसी हूँ,
Oh.
मुझे नहीं लगता कि मैं उस रूम में सर्वाइव भी कर पाऊंगा।
Hmm.
और आई मेट मेघना, आई मेट भवानी, और कितने कमाल के लोग। सो दैट गिव्स मी another thing that we can talk about, that is acceptance.
Right.
So वो, अगर आप किसी भी रूम में किसी भी रोल में आप जा रहे हो, चाहे आप सीनियर राइटर हो, जूनियर राइटर हो, आपका कोई भी काम हो, मेरे ख्याल से सबसे जरूरी जो चीज है वो आपको एक्सेप्टेंस का लेंस लगा के उस कमरे में घुसना चाहिए।
Acceptance for others and for yourself.
फॉर अदर्स तो प्राइमरली,
Ah.
वो राइटर्स तो अपने आप को कभी एक्सेप्ट कर पाएंगे अच्छे से, वो दैट्स अ डिफरेंट
Different. Yeah.
वेबिनार।
Correct.
बट they they started talking to me as if they've known me all my life, all their lives.
Wow.
And I can honestly tell you, writing Sam, I don't remember anything because it was such a breeze.
Okay.
It was such a breeze. Now, Meghna's role was to keep an eye on the bigger picture. What are the episodes? What should be the narrative string of what we are trying to achieve?
Right.
Bhavani, in any case, is so good with her sense of screenplay
Right. Right.
and the things that can be said in a subtle, sensitive. I was, to be crude, I was the testosterone in the mix, because the story is about a guy who's a man who's a man for all seasons.
Hmm.
So the swag and the attitude and all those things is something which I thought I brought to the table.
Right.
Uh,
Interesting point you brought it.
fair to say that about 95% of the film's dialogue is mine.
Right. So is this division that you're actually talking about, like Meghna was looking into bird eye view of the script, Bhavani was bringing out the nuances in the screenplay, you're bringing the swag and the dialogues. Is it pre-decided or it discovered while the process of it?
No, so I was supposed to join the team as only a dialogue writer.
Oh.
But when we started sitting on the story, some of the ideas that I gave about the screenplay, they also liked it, and they said, let's just write it together. Let's not say ki screenplay by
Divide.
ye. Then what we did, we started working on the story, and see, this is point A to point B is the big story chunk. Take 5 scenes, give it to Bhavani. Take next 5 scenes, give it to Shantanu.
Oh.
So that's how we divided work on Sam Bahadur.
Then
We
obviously it will be crossed as well, so that
yes,
the maintenance.
yes. And then it goes to Meghna and she does a final pass.
Okay. So it's pretty much pretty much a very collaborative way of
Yeah,
using
yeah, yeah,
everyone's strength. Whose
yeah, yeah,
strength is what? So, is
yeah.
it also very important to know what is your strength is when you are entering into collaborative writing?
Yeah, that takes time, man. I
Hmm.
mean, when I started writing long form, I thought, oh, maybe a screenplay is something that I'm good at.
Hmm.
Then I
Okay.
met a few people in writers' room, and when I saw what they did with the story and how they approached a part of a story, uh, screenplay wise, in a unique and novel way, and I said, oh, I'd never thought about this in this way.
Hmm.
Then I used to think that dialogues is maybe my strength, and there are at least 50 writers who are better than me in dialogues.
How can you define that? What is better? You can't define
Yeah.
that.
हाँ
But
मतलब वो होता है ना कि, of all the things, I mean, the idea of being insecure and not happy with your work is something that we are
that is
cursed with. This is going to stay with us for the next or rest of our writing
rest
lives.
of our
वो उसका
lives. Yeah.
वो उसका
For
कुछ नहीं
very
कर
sure,
सकते.
बल्कि उनकी उनकी राइटिंग में शायद थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. So
हाँ.
I never met a successful writer who is very sure about his
नहीं,
writing.
but at the same time, you also have to keep telling yourself that you are the best, which I do. So
अच्छा.
you have to keep telling yourself that I'm a fucking genius. I'm the best there is.
So
If
how
you
you
don't,
find
if
the
you
balance
if you
between
don't
the
do that, you won't be able to wake up in the morning and say, "Arey yaar, same cheese." You wake up in the morning and say, "Arey, आज मैं आग लगाऊंगा यार."
but how do you find the balance between the two? The insecurity and this, like,
So insecurity is a lot more personal, and I think we should keep it that way.
right.
मतलब those are
Okay.
the lonely nights of the soul के
Hmm.
लिए रखते हो insecurity कि यार मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ यार, क्या मैं कमाल का हागा हूँ इस सीन में. That's something that you keep for your me time.
Uh,
But
okay.
the
But to
the
the world, you are the best writer.
you have to go in यार, otherwise this world will
Yeah.
not let you breathe.
True, true. So now coming to the point of disagreement. So you get into a writer's room, you collaborate with a person, you know your strengths, they know your strength, everything is going fine. But what happens when at one point you disagree? Like, for example, I want to first know, did you ever had any disagreement with Akshar during the process of writing, whatever you have written?
No, so with Akshat and Bhavani and Meghna, absolutely no disagreements.
No, not at
No,
all.
not none.
Oh my God.
And that's
Wow.
why I'm saying now the entire process of writing Sam Bahadur, I can't remember because it was all fun and games.
Hmm.
There's nothing that can be, you know, marked as a speed bump in our relationship. There's nothing. So
Not
even
the
with Akshat,
relationship, but disagreement in terms of the like the script. Like, I think this should go this
no. So
way.
okay. So I tell you, when you're writing with someone, na,
Hmm.
you're imagine i- if you're making anda bhurji in kitchen all alone, and then you're
Mhm.
making anda bhurji in the kitchen with someone else, right?
Hmm.
Someone would say, "Ki I want tomato pieces this size."
Hmm.
I said,
So
"No, that's a little big. We need to chop it a little fine."
Hmm.
The other person might say, "But I need the onion slices to be slightly thinner."
Hmm.
He says, "No, no, no. What's the point? They
Hmm.
can't dissolve. You should feel the." So it's always better to decide on the tonality of what you're doing beforehand, right?
Hmm.
So if by discussion and by agreement you saying that I'm writing a comedy which is uh, as light and as frothy and snowflakeish as say Jaane Bhi Do Yaro,
Hmm.
or I'm writing a slapstick like a Bhagam Bhag or a Bhool Bhulai.
Hmm.
So tonality of what you're doing has to be agreed upon earlier.
Right.
What then it helps is it gives all the writers a a guide. Yeah,
Right.
this is something that we decide,
Correct. Correct.
right? कि ये लौंडे हैं यहाँ से भाग रहे हैं, पॉइंट ए से पॉइंट बी जा रहे हैं, उनको रास्ते में एक गैग मिलेगा जो कि गैग की तरह ट्रीट करेंगे,
हम्म,
कपिल शर्मा के गैग की तरह ट्रीट करेंगे,
हम्म,
या आई कांट थिंक ऑफ एनी सटल कॉमेडीज,
या मतलब
या
लिटिल
कुछ
मिस
लाइट
सनशाइन,
होगा, हाँ
लिटिल मिस सनशाइन।
हाँ वैसा होगा।
हाँ,
तो ये आप, यू हैव टू नो एंड डिसाइड व्हाट इज द टोन इवेंचुअली।
राइट। बट ऐसा नहीं होता कि आप करने चाहो और फिर आप डिस्कवर कर रहे हो नहीं ये टोन तो वर्क नहीं कर रही है।
नहीं, बट वंस अगेन दैट्स हैज टू कम विद अग्रीमेंट।
अच्छा।
अभी मेरे को ये समझ में आ रहा है कि यार मैं इस कॉल पे बैठा हुआ हूँ,
हम्म,
ठीक है, और मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ मैं ज्ञान देने की,
हम्म,
और अचानक मेरा कैमरा लेफ्ट में होता है एंड माय वाइफ इज नेक्स्ट टू मी एंड शी इज द वन हु इज फीडिंग मी स्टफ इन माय ईयर, राइट, दैट्स अ रिवील ऑफ अ सीन, राइट। अभी इस चीज को करने के बहुत तरीके हैं।
तरीके हो सकते हैं, करेक्ट।
अभी वो हो सकता है वो भिंडी काट रही हो,
हम्म, राइट।
या वो उसके हाथ में झाड़ू और वो मेरे झाड़ू से रिवील है। तो आप ये चीजें आप अपने आप से स्केल अप एंड डाउन करेंगे ना, और ये डिसाइड करके करेंगे। और
हम्म,
फिर इस जैसे ही प्रोड्यूसर और डायरेक्टर आएगा, फिर आपकी ओपिनियन कोई मैटर नहीं करती, फिर उसके बाद तो वही करोगे आप जो आपको कहा जाएगा करने को।
बोलेगा, करेक्ट। एंड बट स्टिल बी पुटिंग आउट योर बेस्ट फुट फॉरवर्ड सेइंग दैट कि नो आई बिलीव इन दिस इज
या
द।
एब्सोल्युटली, एब्सोल्युटली।
हम्म,
मैं बोल रहा हूँ जैसे आप रूम में घुस रहे हो ना,
हम्म,
जस्ट नो इन अ राइटर्स रूम यू हैव टू गिव योर ओपिनियन. How
करेक्ट,
to temper your opinion depending on the people that you're working with is something that you have to figure out.
ठीक है।
So if I'm walking into a room with a writer who has written 45 films,
हम्म,
right? I've recently finished doing dialogues for Singham again,
राइट।
and tomorrow or day after, in a couple of days, is the trailer launch. So the screenplay of that film is written by Yunus Sajawal, right? Yunus Sajawal has been writing since Govinda was a superstar from David Dhawan days. He's written 50 odd films.
Yeah,
25 of those films are blockbusters, more than that,
right.
right? How do I walk into a room and say, sir, you're telling me to write dialogues for this scene,
हम्म,
and I have feeling कि ये सीन जो है, ये अगर थोड़ा सा एम्प अप करें, एम्प डाउन करें, या कहीं और लेके जाऊं तो उससे शायद डायलॉग्स अच्छे निकल के आए। आप जाते ही नहीं कह सकते ना, और यू कांट वॉक इनटू एन रूम एंड स्टार्ट सेइंग स्टफ फ्रॉम दिस हाइट,
right,
राइट।
right.
यू हैव टू वॉक इनटू अ रूम एंड फिगर आउट कि व्हाट्स द बेस्ट वे टू से माय पीस,
Hmm. Best
एंड
time. Hmm.
बेस्ट टाइम, बेस्ट वे। my my hack always been, and I've been in rooms, I am still in a room where I'm the junior writer, uh, is to know what my senior writer likes.
Hmm. Okay.
Because in the world of advertising, marketing, pitches, presentations, it's always easy with a reference, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Correct.
if I get to know that my senior writer likes Succession, uh, and so I talk about Succession for a bit, and
Right.
I like, and I mine what are the things that he likes in that show or a film,
Hmm.
and is there a way that I can use Succession in telling him how we can work on this scene in a little better way?
Nice. Nice.
मैं
Okay.
ये मैं ये हैक बता रहा हूँ ना, और इसमें ना ईगो से ज्यादा जरूरी ये है कि आप जिस कमरे में हैं वहां आपकी बात सुनी जाए।
True. Hmm.
अगर आप बहुत ही कड़क होके बिन ज्यादा काम किए बिना ना एक कमरे में जाओगे और किसी को समझाने की कोशिश करोगे, तो आपकी बात नहीं सुनी जाएगी। और
Hmm.
जरूरी आपका अहम नहीं है, मेरे ख्याल से जरूरी आपका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है लिखाई पे,
Correct.
वो कमरे में जरूर आना चाहिए।
Hmm. क्योंकि
तो वो
lot of
है।
time I have personally have experienced this कि lot of time people disagree on the face to you, but they come back also.
हाँ,
Come back and they said that you know
या
what
या
you were
या
very
या
right.
या
हाँ.
या या दैट हैपेंस अ लॉट।
Lot. more than we know. And that's why I realized that putting your point out is important. Bhale chahe wo immediately people reject it, but
Yeah,
if it is good, it will stay and they will come back.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But now coming back to the first condition that we have decided, like over here, a seniority will decide a lot of things because the person is far more experienced, and then you're also respecting him for the
Yes.
experience and everything,
Yes.
and that defines a lot of things.
Yes.
Now coming back to the first condition where there is no producer, director, or senior involved, and you're collaborating with one of your friend and something, and you're trying to write a script that time, like how you must have written with Akshat, because you both are almost on the same time getting into the industry, your friends beforehand. Um, if you get a disagreement in such conditions, how to put your ego aside and how to find a way ahead.
See, when you're writing with a very, very close friend like Akshat and me,
Mhm.
uh, we know that nothing that we're doing professionally is going to affect our personal relationship, and that's an understanding, right? Not a lot of people will have that. For people who's starting out and who their ideas are not yet commissioned and they still want to collaborate with people, I would say treat the early audition process as a house party, right? You get invited to a house party. There
Hmm.
are 5 pockets of that house parties and of that house party, and people are discussing 5 different things.
Hmm.
Uh, Go speak to those 5 different groups. One group will be talking about something that you like, and you'll probably gauge कि यार इसका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू चीजों के बारे में मेरे जैसा है या मेरे जैसा नहीं है। ये
Right.
दो ही चीजें होती है ना। there
Correct.
are there are there are there are times when you find people who are who think exactly the same way you do, which is
Mhm.
great. You like them, you love them a lot. And there are times when you find people who think exactly the opposite things, and you still love them.
So that's the point. Like, what is good for this? Working with whom?
Absolutely, I would say the first one, 90% of the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
not the one who completely disagree.
No.
Okay. Okay.
You know why?
Mm-hmm.
If the initial engagement with a co-writer is uh, pretty much on the familiarity of your point of view, right?
Right.
That helps you build trust. And 6 months later, if you think that what you've written needs a different point of view, you both will agree.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
So make the first leg of this journey easier.
Right. Because that's already tough to crack that story. So have
Yeah,
a person who is on your side and not constant.
correct. So make that the first leg slightly easier for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
और तब क्या होता है उस 6 महीने के या 3 महीने के प्रोसेस में यू ऑल्सो फिगर आउट there is a little trust, and you look at your co-writer who thinks the same way. It says, do you think we need to like pull back and see this in a different light?
Hmm.
Most of the time, that person that you've picked because of the similarity of the point of view will agree कि हाँ यार हम लोग it's just the same kind of things that we've been doing for the last 3 months. Let's figure out a different way to approach this.
Right.
Make that part as like slightly easier on yourself.
Hmm. Okay. मतलब सो बेसिकली ये क्वेश्चन कम से कम सबसे ज्यादा लोगों ने पूछा है कि वर्किंग विथ अ राइटर हु थिंक्स एब्सोल्युटली लाइक यू विल डेफिनेटली end up easier process, but will that challenge the script enough? Will that
So
challenge the story enough?
point क्या है? You have to get from an idea to at least an 8 pager, like a 10 pager story,
Correct.
right? If you join forces with a like-minded writer, you will get to that 10 pager
Fast.
sooner. Yeah.
Correct.
Now, because you're already in the field of writing, you will definitely reach out through your platform only.
Mhm.
We have an 8-pager, we are looking at someone who's done a bit of work to read it, to see what are we missing.
Right.
Right. So it's always better to walk into a slightly enhanced collaboration setup once you have something solid to share.
Right. Now that comes to the next question, which is, again, someone asked a very interesting question. You work on a script for your 2 year, and you finish that 10-pager. Maybe you finished even the first draft, let's just say, and then you approach a producer. Now the producer thinks that it needs a senior person or it needs another writer, and then another writer comes on board. And now that writer started throwing the changes in front of you. And you have been living this story for 2, 3 years, let's just say. And now these changes are very unsettling for you. So what to do at that time? Have you faced anything like that?
Yes, I personally have not faced this, but I know what it feels like because I've been, for the last 2, 3 years, I'm the one who's been called to do that. So I'm so
So you can sense the insecurity from the other side.
so no, I'll tell you. So my first advice is always
Mhm.
do not sign anything.
Mhm.
Do not get paid by a producer till the time you've met and spoken to the new writer who's been asked to put into the mix.
Right, right.
Do not sign away what you worked on in the last 1.5 years to someone who promises you that they will get this made
Hmm.
by taking away the soul of what you've written.
Right.
Right? That's always safeguard your written words
Hmm.
in any possible way.
Hmm.
Do not see all the writers' clauses, even for me, Akshat, everyone right now.
Hmm.
The one of the things that features in the contract is if the producer deems fit, he is allowed to employ another services of another writer,
Yeah, that happens.
and you'll have to work with the said writer.
Right.
Uh, and that's a format, and you have to sign it, right?
Correct. There is no escape
There
to
is there is no escape.
it. Yeah.
प्रोड्यूसर तो अपने लिए अपना वे आउट देखेगा ना कि बॉस मैंने आइडिया का पैसा दे दिया तुमको,
Correct.
मार्केट बोल रहा है कि तुम्हारा अप्रोच नहीं काम करेगा, मेरे को अप्रोच के लिए एक नया राइटर चाहिए, मुझे तो फिल्म बनानी है.
Sometimes it also happens like the script that I have written, वो भी किसी और के written script थी for Vipul Shah Productions, and it was written by some other writer, and they called me to rewrite the
Yeah,
whole script.
yeah.
And again, I am feeling bad for the other writer. I was feeling, यार उसको कैसा लग रहा होगा. But then I got to know कि he doesn't want to write the draft. वो लिखने नहीं चाहता. उसने
It's
बोला आपको जिससे लिखवाना है आप लिखवा लो.
वो बहुत सही है, मेरे साथ भी हो चुका है.
अच्छा.
हाँ,
मुझे नहीं लिखना.
ये तो सबसे जरूरी चीज तो ये है कि आप बिना बात के पैसा लेने की जल्दी मत करो इस सिचुएशन में, और अपने आप को सेफगार्ड करो. ठीक है. बट देर आर ये मैं आइडियल सिनारियो बता रहा हूँ. सो यू ऑलवेज हैव अ वे आउट बाय सेइंग कि आई केम टू यू विद दिस आइडिया, आई साइंड अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दैट अलाउज यू टू ब्रिंग इन अनदर राइटर, but my addition to that clause is that if the new writer comes in and doesn't get a script approved by you and by me in the next 1.5 years, I can buy this back.
Buyback options. Yeah. Right.
So that मैं उतने टाइम में मैं किसी और के साथ कोलैबोरेट करूंगा जो शायद मेरी कहानी की सोल को कुछ इंटैक्ट रखने की कोशिश करेगा.
Right. Right. Okay. Now, one last question, then we'll start taking questions from the people. You have an idea, and now this idea is something that is with you for quite some time. How do you decide that this idea needs a collaboration and this is something that I can write on myself? Like, most of the people say that writing is a lonely process. It's a like individual process. So where, at what point you decide that, no, this particular story needs a collab?
Hmm. Uh,
Especially when the idea is coming from yourself. I mean,
fir-
because it's very
first of
difficult
all,
to involve someone else into your idea.
I have no idea. I don't know what I do. So anyone who says I have great idea, वो नहीं, अच्छा नहीं. To be fair, to be honest, uh, collaboration when you're starting out is a function of enriching the story. For certain writers, collaboration is the need because of limited time, right? So if I have an idea and that idea features a brash, new, edgy way of saying things, I have a couple of writers in my mind that I usually collaborate with developing ideas. Young 23, 24-year-olds.
Right.
And because if the idea is a little left of center, I go to a younger lot of writers to collaborate with. But my first thought is always, who can I collaborate with? Whatever idea.
Okay. Okay. Not depending on the idea, but who I feel comfortable writing.
No, any idea that comes to me, my first thought is collaboration.
Oh.
Always.
Oh. You love writing in the collaborative.
Yeah, when you're chasing deadlines, you forget to approach and attack an idea from all sides. You always need people to help you do that.
Your soldier, साथ का साथी जो आपके साथ fight.
हाँ, वो आपको एक आदमी हमेशा लगता है, एक आदमी, दो लोग हमेशा लगता है कि यार जो तीन अलग डायरेक्शन से अटैक कर सकें यार. मैं जेन्युइनली बोल रहा हूँ, collaborative writing is such a picnic.
Yeah, I agree.
It is fantastic.
I agree. Completely agree. You know
मजा आ
something?
जाता है.
You know something? आपने और मैंने भी एक लिख
Correct.
शुरू की थी और वो अभी बन रही है, बनेगी जब बनेगी तब बनेगी. लेकिन उससे पहले एक बहुत ही पर्सनल सी चीज मैं शेयर कर रहा हूँ. So I lost my friend to COVID, and around that time only we were writing. So I was supposed to send a story draft, and I was feeling so low that I was not able to write at all. And for a very long time, I was just pushing the deadlines. I called Anup and I said, "So अभी ना हो नहीं रहा है, 15 दिन में बिल्कुल नहीं लिख रहा." And then instead of that, then he said that कि सौरभ जो भी लिखा है भेज दो. Don't think about कि अच्छा लिखा है, बुरा लिखा है, whatever it is. Let's just throw it to Shantanu and we'll discuss it further. And then when we started having discussions, when we started having those ideas, आपने वो great opening scene दिया था and lot of things, I immediately got my mojo back. Like, oh, now I'm feeling so interested in writing the same story which I was feeling depressed writing. So I can completely buy that thing. कि, hey, if you have a co-writer, the journey becomes easier, far more easier.
Energy आती है ना.
Correct. Yeah. Whenever
मतलब
you
it's
know,
yeah, it's
yeah. Correct. So we'll start taking questions. First question is from Vivekanand. Yeah, Vivekanand. Yeah, you go ahead. You ask your question by yourself.
Like I've had like new collaborations recently, and what happens is that when you're writing for someone, this sudden, I found it very surprising that my senior writer suddenly got very insecure because of the ideas that were coming in, and so two people were there, and somehow in one meeting, my ideas were getting accepted and his ideas were getting rejected. So in the meeting, it was fine. Then later on, that person started becoming very insecure, and he started sabotaging the ideas that I was giving, and trying to overpower and change. And I'm sorry to say, but after, like, earlier on, they were great, but once he became insecure, the ideas are also getting really weird, and it was just not working. He was rejecting everything I was saying. I didn't like whatever he was saying, and just turned into a mess. So I just wanted to understand if there is a way to navigate this situation.
Okay, thanks, Vivek, for the question. Are you guys writing for a director? Is the director involved in the process?
There was a creative director as well as content head and all of those involved,
Hmm.
but we were the two writers who were writing for this.
See, approving an idea would eventually, the responsibility would land on their head, right? So in a situation where the things are getting a little nasty and toxic, it's always like good advice to keep track of what you're saying and what he's saying, right? So every time there is an opportunity to present things, just do not engage with him on a personal, or her on a personal level. Just keep a track of what you're presenting, what he or she is presenting. And in a situation where you're being paid by a certain set of people, eventually they get to have the final say, right? Do not shatter or like counter sabotage his ideas. Every time the idea is presented, say, okay, we park this idea. This is what I have. Make sure that you have a record of everything that you've said and he said. So it's just good for your own safety.
Basically
That's
not
extremely
rejecting
helpful.
their
Yeah.
idea. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I was saying that is extremely helpful. Something similar on the lines had happened, and thank you. It is exactly how as you're saying. So thanks, Saurabh. Thanks, Sam.
Ashish, you have the next question.
Hi Saurabh sir, hi Shantanu sir. It's really great talking to you. And my question is a two-parter. The first question is, as a person who's starting out writing, how should I deal with stories inspired by real life events? Like usually, I am mostly attracted to real life events, and I try to fictionalize them to like make something out of it. So how should I deal with that? Like what should be my approach?
Um, I usually ask myself one question before I start working on an idea, story ho ya मतलब film ho ya show. What exactly am I trying to say? And that's a process that I personally feel everyone should do, even directors. Uh, that it should be not more than a two-line answer.
Okay.
So if a real life event has pushed me or inspired me to write a story about, say, weird stuff that happens in India, right? What exactly is that one line that I'm trying to say? For example, it happens only in India. India is not for beginners, which is pretty much the meme material right now. Or like we are Indians, we stare in the face of death and we celebrate, right? That one line, that one or two line answer, what I'm trying to say, what this idea is about, what this film is about, what this show is about, that should be the guiding force, right? If you look at that and start thinking of your story, that will also help you move away from the original inspiration and start bringing in your own ideas to the mix.
Hmm. Okay, sir. So the second question that I have is, what I usually go through is I get a lot of blocks. I feel like, is it only happening to me or there are other people having this same block? Like I usually go through, the thing is I start thinking about an idea, I start thinking about the storyline, and it's going all perfect. And I'm thinking like this is going to be a masterpiece. And then I start facing blocks, and then I think this idea is crap. How should I deal with this if you go through this?
5 pages you have to write every day.
Hmm.
5 pages every day, irrespective of your idea. अगर आइडिया पे काम दिमाग नहीं चल रहा तो माय बेस्ट फ्रेंड के बारे में ऐसे लिखो. 5 पेज रोज लिखने हैं, 25
हाँ.
पेज रोज पढ़ने हैं.
Okay.
ये मैं बता रहा हूँ आशीष, जो टाइम है ना आगे वो यही है कि कौन रोज काम करके मुझे दे सकता है.
Hmm.
बस ये फ्यूचर ओनली बिलोंग्स टू पीपल हु विल डिलीवर. That's
Right.
it.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you so much, sir. It was lovely talking to you.
So guys, anyone else has questions? वैसे I tried to cover all of the questions. Anyone else want to ask any specific question? Not necessarily related to collaborative writing. I mean, anything else you also want to ask, then you can ask in the chat section. I will also like to ask one more thing. So
Ayush, I think Ayush
Ayush
has
has, yeah.
raised his.
one.
Yeah, Saurabh, I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
After you can ask, I can ask after you.
No. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, not from a collaborating writing per se, Shantanu, thanks for the session, for giving such insights. So, primarily, ये सवाल ये है कि आप एक कहानी प्रोड्यूसर को सुनाते हो, interested and so on and then एक certain line of feedbacks आते हैं which you want to kind of incorporate. But फर्ज करिए 10 फीडबैक हैं तो आप 4 से 5 करना चाहते हो, लेकिन क्योंकि आपको अपनी कहानी को नेक्स्ट लेवल पे भी ले जाना है तो देयर इज अ सर्टेन प्रेशर. आई डोंट नो हाउ टू थिंक अबाउट इट, लेकिन आप अग्री नहीं करते, विच इज अ वेरी कॉमन थिंग. आप कुछ चीजों को अग्री कर सकते हो, कुछ चीजों को नहीं. सो नेक्स्ट ड्राफ्ट जब आप ले जा रहे हो तो क्या एक सही तरीका ये है कि आप उनके फीडबैक को इनकॉर्पोरेट करके कहानी ले जाओ और एक वर्जन ये ले जाओ जो आपको आपको लगता है कि यार ये मेरी कहानी को ज्यादा जस्टिफाई करेगा. आई डोंट नो कर कैसे सकते हैं, बट आई कैन ओनली थिंक ऑफ दैट. या ये है कि भाई जो वो बोल रहे हैं वो लाके परोसो, क्योंकि सिर्फ एक कहानी नहीं बनानी, और भी कहानियां बनानी है. सो आई डोंट नो क्या है, बट या दैट्स अ क्वेश्चन.
Yeah, देखो, what are the things that I say, they are primarily for writers here, सा. ठीक है, ये मैं हैक दे रहा हूँ तुम लोगों को, ये मैं शॉर्टकट्स बता रहा हूँ ऐसी चीजों, ऐसी सिचुएशन में क्या करना है. ठीक है, तुमको अगर 10 पॉइंट्स दिए हैं प्रोड्यूसर ने, 10 नोट्स दिए हैं,
जी,
और इफ यू अग्री विद 4 of them,
राइट,
you think that these 4 I can do and it's not going to mess much with my original idea, तुमको उसके सामने अपना सर पकड़ के बैठ जाना
ओके.
कि ये आपने जो 4 चीजें बताई है ना, इसने मेरी लाइफ चेंज कर दी.
शायद मैंने मौका मिस कर दिया क्योंकि मैं फीडबैक लेगा, बट आई गेट योर पॉइंट. या राइट, राइट.
एक प्रोड्यूसर को इससे अच्छी चीज कोई नहीं लगती दुनिया में, क्योंकि एक आर्टिस्ट उसको बोलता है कि आप आर्टिस्ट हो.
हाँ, वो एक सेंस था सर व्हाइल आई वाज टेकिंग द राइट पॉइंट अगेन.
ठीक है, अगर तुम वो 4 के बारे में, मैं ऑब्वियसली मैं जॉनी लीवर लेवल पे बता रहा हूँ, बट तुम उसको अगर इरफान लेवल पे भी कर लोगे, हल्का हल्का सटल तरीके से बता दोगे कि यार आई रियली अग्री विद व्हाट यू सेइंग अबाउट दीस 4 थिंग्स, आई नो इट विल एनरिच माय आइडिया, इट विल टेक द आइडिया टू अनदर लेवल.
राइट.
I think you will get away with not taking care of those 6 points that you don't want. Right.
Okay.
And there's one thing that I want to tell everyone is, while you're pitching your ideas to producers also, keep in mind that you have to keep pitching ideas to directors also. Right. डायरेक्टर से अच्छा तुम लोगों का सेफ्टी नेट और चट्टान और रॉक कोई नहीं होता.
Okay.
If your idea reaches the right director and your director buys into what you're trying to say, he will save
Right.
you from everything. Everything will be taken care of once you meet the right director. So make sure that your conscious effort is also to keep sending ideas to directors.
Right.
To keep seeking meetings with directors, so that these are the people who actually go. चक्कर क्या होता है कि जब फिल्म बनने जाती है ना, तो वहां पे 500 लोग खड़े होते हैं, तो वो एक ही आदमी की तरफ देख रहे होते हैं. उस टाइम पे प्रोड्यूसर भी कुछ नहीं कर सकता, डायरेक्टर ही कर रहा है.
Right.
So it's always better to stand behind a director who really
Jammed again.
I think Shantanu froze.
Yeah. No issues.
Let him.
ये वाला मैं मिस कर गया सौरभ. मैं वो हाथ सर नहीं पटा. मैं जनरली फीडबैक लेके वापस आ गया.
तारीफ करना जरूरी है. Sorry, it was Shantanu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can move ahead to Devashish.
Hi, Shantanu sir. Hi, sir. I have very out of all the topics we've discussed, I have a question regarding the screenplay. I'll lower my hand first. The screenplay and story. So if I'm approaching a story, उसके कैरेक्टर पे काम करने के लिए how much does the genre of the story is important? For example, if I'm working on a mystery, तो कैरेक्टर उस जॉनरा के लिए कितने इंपॉर्टेंट है कंपेयर टू इफ आई एम वर्किंग ऑन अ रोम कॉम. आई मीन आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ कैरेक्टर इन इंडियन सिनेमा, प्रेफर लाइक स्पेसिफिकली बॉलीवुड. बिकॉज मैं बहुत सारे राइटर्स, इवन सौरभ सर से भी बात करता हूँ, ही टेल्स मी कि यार यहाँ पे अगर स्टोरी हमें सेल करनी है तो वी हैव टू राइट कैरेक्टर ड्रिवन सिनेमा, बिकॉज एक्टर्स एंड एक्ट्रेसेस वुड कम ऑन बोर्ड ओनली देन. So I want to know your take on this particular stuff.
No, I agree with Saurabh when he says character, but my reason is, in addition to casting, which obviously is a big decision, to work on characters is, यार हम लोग आमतौर पे हाथ ना, हम फिल्मों में किसी का हाथ पकड़ के घुसते हैं.
Right.
तो मैं किसका हाथ पकड़ के कहानी में घुस रहा हूँ, वो जितना अच्छा वेल डिफाइंड होगा ना, उसमें उतना मजा आएगा.
Okay.
ठीक है, या तो मैं ऐसा हूँ जैसा मुझे कैरेक्टर एक स्क्रीन में दिख रहा है, या मैं ऐसा होना चाहता हूँ, या मैं ऐसे किसी को जानता हूँ, या अगर मैं इसकी जगह होता मैं क्या करता. ये ये पूरी दुनिया, सब लोग हर कहानी में यही सवाल सुनते हैं.
Okay.
तो इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द जॉनर ऑफ द फिल्म और स्टोरी, आई थिंक कैरेक्टर पे काम करना बहुत बहुत जरूरी होता है. और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कैरेक्टर पे अच्छे से काम करोगे ना, तो रंग कहानी का क्या है तुम्हारी, वो बहुत अच्छे से तुम्हारे काबू में आएगा.
Okay.
जो रस है, जो टोन है, किस किस्म की बातें सुनने को मिलेंगी, क्या दुनिया तुम पेंट करने जा रहे हो, तो वो उस कैरेक्टर के हिसाब से मजा आएगा. फिर तुम डिसीजन ले सकते हो कि मैं एक पीले रंग का आदमी बनाऊंगा फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेकिन मैं उसको नीली दुनिया में डालूंगा. तो वो जो है ना, कैरेक्टर में मेरे को लगता है कि काफी मजा आता है काम करने में. और कई बार कैरेक्टर इतने अच्छे से बन जाता है कि प्लॉट आपको कैरेक्टर ही दे देता है.
अच्छा.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Visu wants to ask the question. Sorry, I don't get the name correctly over here. Please go ahead.
Hi. It's Vishwajit only. So yeah, yeah, I'm joining from my phone. Hi, Shantanu. Thanks for the session. My question is on collaborative writing. Like I've been trying to collaborate with 2-3 writers in the past, and I've been, let's say, working on a script for 2 years. So when you're working on something for a certain while, you put a lot of yourself, somewhere also a bit of personal elements of yourself in the story, and it at times it becomes at times it's you feel like you are being attacked, or let's say you are being criticized a lot, rather than being understanding or empathetic or in that way. So how do you go around and still be able to work on that script or story, or do you just say ki, okay, now I just want to give it to you, you do what you want, I have done my part, or how do you go around to still make that work? Because with every script, I believe, matlab, at least I have personally tried to do is, कि, okay, I'll put my personal touches or whatever. Matlab, you put your heart and soul into it, and you try to work with another writer. Ki, oh, let's make it work, but it's not working. Then what do you do? How do you take that approach? Ki, okay, it's still not working. Matlab, if when it doesn't work with 3 4 writers, do you say like, okay, fault mere mein hi hai? So yeah, I'm trying to think
Basically,
around it.
yeah. So basically, you wanted to ask whether how to deal with uh, your your own insecurity about the fact that कि भाई नहीं काम कर रहा है और मुझे भी लेकिन उसका आइडिया पसंद नहीं है
Hmm.
और उसको भी
Yeah,
मेरा
yeah.
भी मेरा नहीं आ
Some,
रहा है, मेरी स्क्रिप्ट भी काम नहीं कर रही है
and the stories become personal after a while when you're working for 2 years on a
Any story
script.
becomes personal.
हाँ. So yeah, that's my question. How do you work around it? How do you collaborate? How do you open yourself or the other writer so that you can still be centric to one goal? Ki, okay, we still have to make this story work.
Basically, detach yourself. How to detach?
Yeah, how to detach yourself to still make that story work.
तो डिटैचमेंट से पहले बहुत बड़ा सवाल है कि what about the ownership? Who owns that story? Was it your original idea and then you started looking for a collaborator, or it was someone else's idea and you came in as a collaborator on the original idea? If you've safeguarded your original idea in this case or a similar case where you've come up with an idea and you've asked me, Shantanu, will you collaborate with me? You came up with the germ of the idea, you've registered the story, right? If the ownership is crystal clear in terms of idea and your collaborations are not working, then it's always to break those collaborations. It's always better, right? But if the ownership of an idea is convoluted, is disputed in a way कि अरे हम दोनों ने ही सोचा था इस कहानी का ये आइडिया ये, उस चक्कर में always remember that 3 साल से जो चीज अभी यहाँ तक पहुंची है उसको और आगे जाने में भी और टाइम लगेगा. A good night's sleep is always worth more than a story that you have to tell. Always. यार ये हाथ ना लिखाई वाला, ये रमा होते होते होता है. ठीक है, लिखते रहते रमा होता जाता है. 3 साल में जितना लिखा हो, मैं तुमको गारंटी दे रहा हूँ कि आज 6 अक्टूबर से तुम दोबारा चीजें लिखनी शुरू करोगे, तुम्हें आज जहां तक पहुंचे हो उसका आधा टाइम लगेगा पहुंचने. तो इस प्रोसेस में तुमने चीजें सीखी तो है, किसी ना किसी तरीके से अपने स्किल को होन तो किया ही. याद रखो भैया, ये खून के आंसू नहीं रोने हैं बिना बात के, जब कुछ मतलब हासिल ही नहीं हो रहा हो ना. और ओनरशिप हमेशा हमेशा कभी भी, अगर आप नए लोगों के साथ काम कर रहे हो या जिन लोगों से आप ऑनलाइन मिले हो, टिंडर पे मिले हो या WTF में कहीं पे मिले हो, उन लोगों के साथ अगर कोलैबोरेट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, ओनरशिप सेफगार्ड करो भाई. If it's a one-page idea that you came up with and you discussed it with Saurabh or me, get it registered.
Right.
Please do not walk into an arrangement without making sure that the ownership is clear.
Right. So, and coming to the question, even if the ownership is, let's just say, with one writer, and I have collaborated with like 5-6 people over that idea, and I'm not happy with anything. एक से break करके दूसरा, दूसरे से तीसरा, तीसरे से चौथा. It's also possible for the people like who just can't collaborate, right? It's a very individualistic process.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we need to like find out this one thing about yourself that it doesn't work for me. Whatever is the journey, I have to take that journey all alone.
Absolutely. See, I tell you what in one line, what writing is for me and the process is, it is closing the gap between awareness and application. Right. And that's how we should measure our progress as a writer. As a writer, I consume a lot of television, a lot of films, and I can identify what are the great things that people have done. As a consumer of life, I understand things which are happening around me, relationships, characters, incidents, insights, right? All of this is a part of my awareness. My application is how I turn what I'm aware of into a great story, right? Walking from awareness to application is all your skill. हम लोगों को पता सब कुछ है क्योंकि हम लोगों ने देखा है, पढ़ा है, लेकिन क्या मैं उतनी अच्छी चीज लिख पा रहा हूँ? ये जो रास्ता है ना, ये है आपकी स्किल डेवलपमेंट। कोलैबोरेटिव राइटिंग में एक ये फायदा होता है कि आपको ये समझ में आ रहा होता है कि यार इस आदमी ने कौन सी चीजों को कैसे कन्वर्ट किया है, थिंग्स दैट दिस राइटर्स आर अवेयर ऑफ and how is applied those things. That helps you do that.
So you basically see every writing comes from a life experience, and when you're doing a collaborative writing, it's actually coming with two life experiences.
Yeah.
Definitely far more enriched than normal one person write.
Correct. Yeah. यार वही है ना, जोक सेम सुना होता है सब लोगों ने, कोई उसको फिल्म में यूज कर पाता है, कोई नहीं कर पाता.
Correct. Quickly take other questions. So next question is, can you write the story or character against your own ideology? That's the question asked by Gaurav.
Are you asking if I can write an animal?
Can you or will you?
I would be more than happy to do the dialogues for that.
Okay. What about character? Can you write a character which is not you or you're against your idea?
हाँ, मतलब creating characters that run in opposite directions, from what I think, is a part of the process. But will they be glorified and will they be declared winner in the end? I'm not sure. I've not been in a situation like this where I've been asked by a director or producer to create a really disgusting character and glorify him. I've not been in that situation, but maybe a BMW X3 can change my mind.
Yeah, that can change anything. Okay, Swarnima, your turn.
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. Thank you, Shantanu. I think everything that you shared was really, really insightful. My question is particularly while writing screenplay, when the story is fleshed out and the scenes are distributed amongst 2 or 3 writers, and how do you ensure that the little nuances everybody brings on the table and the tonality stays consistent? Because what if I know everybody would discuss it together later on, but when the first copy comes, it may sound or seem completely different. So have you been in a situation where that was the case, and how do you handle it?
Great question, because this is something that happened to us in the first few days of writing Sam. Bhavani, when she writes like a scene, she pretty much paints a delicate picture. Every scene seems like a postcard. To the extent ki if there is a table in the background, what kind of a tablecloth would that character be putting on? That's something that I do also, but only if it is. I usually do that to establish villains. So I don't spend a lot of time doing that for everyone. But the usage of scenery of a scene in screenplay is something that you have to follow someone who is the most senior in them. Always walk into the room, and the norm of the style of writing a screenplay with someone who's senior than you, I by default follow the senior's guideline. It's just easier. And there are times when they also read something that you've written and say, okay, so this seems like something that I would have written in description and detailing. That's okay. It's easier. But make sure that you leave your touch, your impact on what you're writing.
Hi, Shantanu. Thank you for the insights. Are really helpful. My question was that I write mostly alone, and I've been fiddling with the idea of collaborating. Right. I just wanted to know what factors make someone more suited for collaboration. Like, what are the characteristics that one should have as a writer? How to know whether you can collaborate or not as a person, as a writer, and if you can, which subjects to collaborate on? I mean, what are the good reasons to collaborate? And conversely, like, what will be the bad reasons to collaborate on a particular film? Are there any?
Yeah, more than the skill of person, I think like temperament is something that you need to check before getting into a collaboration. Mera collaboration ka one of the first things that I look for is the co-writer's approach to idea of time, timelines and deadlines and overall punctuality. Okay. I can't work with someone who says, हाँ जब मेरे को आइडिया आएगा अभी मैं तभी दूंगा लिख के I can't work with someone who says I've been thinking for 3 days, I haven't so it might take 10 more days. I said take 10 more days now. Like, tell me you'll take 10 days and then do it in those 10 days. Right? So वर्ल्ड व्यू क्या है कोलैबोरेटर का, वो ज्यादा जरूरी होता है स्किल और स्किल से यार। मतलब आप नॉर्मल चीजों के बारे में क्या सोचते हो, फेमिनिज्म के बारे में क्या सोचते हो, करप्शन के बारे में क्या सोचते हो, कहानी क्यों कहनी चाहिए इस बारे में क्या सोचते हो, वो ज्यादा जरूरी चीजें पहले जानने के लिए।
Okay, but my question is more self-reflecting in nature. Like, how do I know whether I am good, like I want a collaboration, or I should collaborate, right? Or I can collaborate, so to speak, because like I said, I collaborate on music, right? So I compose, I write, I sing, right? But there are certain sections of the song making process that I just can't do. So I have my partner Chen, he's also from Allahabad, and तो हम लोग एक दूसरे को बहुत पहले से जानते हैं, and he's my best friend's younger brother. So when I met him, he was very young. We started collaborating, and so he has kind of, or I have asked him, and he has done it. वो मेरे अकॉर्डिंग ही अपनी स्किल सेट उसने डेवलप की है. What I can't do, I asked him to learn it because I don't want to do it, right? And I can't mostly. तो उस वैसे सेक्शन में सॉन्ग में कोलैबोरेट करना आसान है, बट अब सॉन्ग मेकिंग प्रोसेस में जो काम मैं कर लेता हूँ उसमें मैं नहीं कोलैबोरेट करता, राइट, इन माय हेड. तो सॉन्ग में क्या है कि आई नो कि ओके, बट अब जैसे कि आई कैन कोलैबोरेट विद अ म्यूजिक पर्सन फॉर अ सॉन्ग फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट, लाइक आई कैन बी एक्साइटेड अबाउट इट ऑनेस्टली, बट अभी मैं अपने आप जाके करने में आई शुड लाइक वो डिफरेंट गेज होगा, राइट? बट ऑन राइटिंग आई फील लाइक कि दे मे बी पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट्स वेयर वन नीड्स टू कोलैबोरेट. आई हैव हैंड, अब मेरे अंदर से तो ऐसा अभी तक आया नहीं. तो वो दूसरे के आइडिया पे मैं कोलैबोरेट कर लेता हूँ, लेकिन जिसमें मैं जो मैंने सोचा है उसमें मैं बहुत ही ज्यादा स्टबर्न होता हूँ अपने ऊपर ही, है ना? तो आई क्रिटिक माई सेल्फ अलॉट. आई थिंक कि इतना अच्छा होना चाहिए, उसके लिए टाइम लगेगा, वो लगेगा जो मैं पर्सनली डेवलप कर रहा हूँ उसके लिए जो करना. लाइक यू राइटली मेंशन्ड, अ गुड नाइट स्लीप इज बेटर देन अ स्क्रिप्ट. आई एम टेंड टू गो अपोजिट टू दैट. आई फील लाइक कि मतलब मैं ना थोड़ा जग लूंगा, मेरे को वो सीन अब अपने साथ इतना कष्टदायी अप्रोच रखना इज वेरी ओके. आई एम क्वाइट ओके विद इट. आई हैव माय फेयर रीजंस टू डू इट. बट दूसरे के साथ फोर्स, मतलब दूसरों को, आई नो माय नेचर, मेरे को पता है क्या कहते हैं, मैं अब स्क्रिप्ट की बात आएगी तो आई कांट बी डिसऑनेस्ट विद द कोलैबोरेटर, राइट? अब उसको मैं टॉर्चरस प्रोसेस के साथ उसको, आओ बेटा आ जाओ नरक में मेरे साथ, गाड़ी से चलते हैं,
नहीं,
तो वो
वही
बिकम्स अ लिटिल
उसका
ऑकवर्ड.
भी वही जवाब है। अगर तुमको ऐसा लग रहा है कि तुम एक चीज फिक्स किए बिना रात को सो नहीं पाओगे, तो तुमको जरूर कोई ना कोई ऐसा इंसान मिलेगा जिसका भी हाल ऐसा होगा कि जो चीज फिक्स किए बिना नहीं सो पाएगा। और मैं बता रहा हूँ अपने अपने आप को
कोलैबोरेशन शायद ही
अपने
जैसा है, मतलब ढूंढ लो, डेट कर लो,
हाँ,
देख लो,
अपने आप को
और फिर
टेस्ट
पकड़
करने
लो.
का ना, अपने आप को टेस्ट करने का एक बहुत सही तरीका है, एक कहानी आधी सोचो और किसी को दे दो, और ये मत सोचो कि वो क्या करके लाएगा, बस दे दो। तुम्हारा आधा काम है, तुमने दे कर दिया, तुमने आगे दे दिया किसी को, वो आए बाकी की कहानी तुम्हारे पास, और तुम उसको, भली हो बुरी हो, तुम्हारे पास इतनी पेशेंस हो कि तुम वो सुनो, पढ़ो, और बोलो कि हाँ यार, मतलब इसमें इसके साथ कुछ किया जा सकता है, तब तुम कोलैबोरेशन के लिए तैयार हो। अगर
हाउ
तुम
वुड
आधी
हाउ वुड
कहानी
वन
छोड़ के, आधी कहानी छोड़ के जब तक वो लिख रहा है तब तक तुम बाकी आधी के बारे में तुम भी सोच रहे हैं, तो फिर कोई पॉइंट नहीं है,
आई गेट योर
उसको
पॉइंट.
सोचने दो।
Okay. How do you decide आदि कहानी, so to speak?
एक आदमी सुबह सो के उठा, उसने बोला कि मुझे आज नई गाड़ी खरीदनी
Okay.
है, और मैं चला गया, और यहाँ तक मैं घर से बाहर निकला और बारिश हो गई, स्टॉप।
Okay. Okay.
अब उसका काम।
Okay. Thanks. One more thing I wanted to ask. You were mentioning about the ownership of the story, right? So if the ownership of the story lies with the other person, and right, they came to you, they come to you for a particular section of the screenplay or the whole screenplay, right? And like in the middle of the process, after you have worked on it, thought about it, have been pondering about it, right? They kind of decide कि I'll write the screenplay now. So how do you, because the ownership तो अब सामने वाले के पास है, right? So how do you one avoid such situations, right? And how to deal with it?
यार देखो,
Because
ये
obviously
ये
ownership सामने वाले की तो it's his or her call.
ये तुम लोग ये तुम ना बहुत एक्सट्रीम सिचुएशन की बात कर रहे हो। मुझे ऐसा
Okay.
लगता है कि अगर तुम थोड़ा भी टाइम कोलैबोरेशन में लगाओगे ना, तो इतना ट्रस्ट समझ में आ जाएगा तुमको, पहले 1.5 महीने में समझ में आ जाएगा कि मुझे इस आदमी का विश्वास करना है कि नहीं करना।
Oh,
अगर करना है और दोनों तरफ से ये बात है, तो फिर इस तरह की नौबत ही नहीं आएगी।
okay. Fair. Means it's a rare scenario, so to speak.
हाँ,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Shantanu.
We'll be taking last 2-3 questions only. Shubha, are you going to ask this question or should I ask?
Yeah, I may ask if it's okay. Hi,
Okay.
Shantanu sir. Hi, Saurabh, and hi, Scriptors. So my question is about outlining. कि how important is a fully fleshed outline before starting the story? Like sir, for example, अभी जो आपने story बताई ना, अगर मुझे कोई ये आधी story दे देना कि एक आदमी कार खरीदना चाहा and वो निकला and फिर बारिश हो गई, so it's easier for me to like dive right in and write it down. उसके आगे क्या होता है खुद खुद सोच के. लेकिन if someone asks me ना कि अच्छा बताओ वो आदमी की age क्या है, उसका नेचर क्या है, उसकी स्टेक्स क्या होंगे, एंड कार कौन से कलर की खरीदनी है, सो मेरा ना दिमाग ही चलना बंद हो जाता है इफ आई स्टार्ट लाइक एनालाइजिंग एवरीथिंग बिफोर इट्स बीइंग रिटन. सो व्हाट्स योर एडवाइस टू पैंटस्टर्स लाइक मी, and how important is like a fully fleshed outline before starting? That's my question.
so I'll tell you what my process, something that works for me. 1 paragraph idea कि मैं मोटा मोटा कहानी क्या कहना चाह रहा हूँ। एक आदमी घर से निकलेगा कार खरीदने के लिए, उसका रास्ते में उसको किडनैप कर लिया किसी ने, और उसको किसी ने बोला कि तू, मेरी बेटी अंबानी की शादी के बाहर खड़ी हुई है, तू उसको अगर अंबानी की शादी के अंदर घुसा ले जाएगा तो मैं तेरे को कार फ्री में दिला दूंगा, और तेरे बीवी बच्चे जो मेरे कब्जे में है मैं उनको छोड़ दूंगा। आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू, दिस इज द लाइक अ वन बुक। मैं जितने भी कहानी में लोग मिलने वाले हैं मुझे, मैं उनके बारे में थोड़ा थोड़ा सोचूंगा कि किस किस्म के लोग हैं, किस उम्र के लोग हैं, किस तबके के लोग हैं, कहाँ से आते हैं, क्या करते हैं क्या नहीं। ये एक मोटा मोटा आइडिया हो गया। उसके बाद मैं आउटलाइन बनानी शुरू करूंगा, जो आप बोल रहे हो,
Okay.
स्टेप आउटलाइन टाइप, और उसके बाद मैं सीधा स्क्रीन पे डायलॉग सुना, बस। जो चीज आपको रोक रही है एक्चुअल लिखाई से, उसको आप वहीं रोक दो, उसी काम से एडजेसेंट काम करो। कि अगर आपको यहाँ पे दिक्कत हो रही है कि यार ये आदमी किस किस्म का आदमी है क्या नहीं, ये सोच के मेरा दिमाग के साथ चलना बंद हो रहा है, तो मैं 12 अच्छे सीन सोचता हूँ, ठीक है, इसमें मैं बाद में आ जाऊँ।
Okay.
लिखना मत छोड़ो, वो चीज फॉर द टाइम बीइंग सोचना छोड़ दो।
Yeah.
लिखना छोड़ना जो है ना, वो ज्यादा घातक है, क्योंकि मशीन चलती रहनी चाहिए, और अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आप इस डायरेक्शन में, आप मशीन नहीं चल रही, तो उस डायरेक्शन में मत जाओ। अपने आप के साथ जाती मत करो, रहम करो अपने आप पे, जिस चीज में दिमाग चल रहा है वो सोचो।
But in collapse, तो sir, we need to give the other person an idea also, and
हाँ,
like ideas थोड़े
हाँ, नहीं
hatch
तो
होने.
उनको नहीं, देखो वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि उनको बोलो कि भैया मैं कल सुबह 10:30 बजे से कल रात 8:30 बजे तक एक कोलैबोरेटिव सेशन में बैठ के आया हूँ, जिसमें और मैं जिन लोगों के साथ काम कर रहा हूँ वो उन लोगों के साथ मैंने पहले काम किया हुआ है, और दिग्गज लोग हैं, मतलब राम माधवानी, और सामने एक 6 बेस्ट सेलिंग बुक्स के ऑथर शत्रुजीत नाथ, ये इन लोगों के साथ बैठे हैं। और तीसरा आदमी है जो जिसने आर्या सीजन 3 लिखा है।
ओके।
और मैं साफ उनको बता सकता हूँ कि बॉस तुम 2 लोग इस वक्त प्लॉट डिस्कस कर रहे हो, मैं प्लॉट बी डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ, तुम लोग प्लॉट ए कर लो, मैं प्लॉट बी कर रहा हूँ।
हम्म।
ठीक है, अभी मेरा दिमाग नहीं चल रहा प्लॉट ए पे, मैं प्लॉट बी पे ध्यान देता हूँ, मेरा दिमाग गर्म रहेगा, आई एम श्योर कि मैं सोचता रहूंगा, लिखता रहूंगा, कुछ ना कुछ करता रहूंगा, मैं वापस प्लॉट ए पे आ जाऊंगा। ये इतना आपको एल्बो रूम अपने कोलैबोरेटर्स को देना भी होगा और उनसे लेना भी होगा। यार
एंड
मुझे, हाँ, मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि मैं 2 दिन कैरेक्टर पे काम नहीं कर पा रहा यार, मैंने सॉरी, बहुत दिनों से मेरे दिमाग में अच्छे अच्छे सीन्स घूम रहे हैं 3-4, मैं सीन्स लिख के रखता हूँ, कैरेक्टर आएंगे उनको घुमा के डाल देंगे।
ओके, या,
लिखना बंद मत करो बस।
थैंक यू, दैट्स
Okay.
हेल्पफुल।
Ashish, you want to ask one more question, right?
Yes, sir. So I'm taking my shot in the dark right now. My question is to both Shantanu sir and Saurabh sir. Will you be willing to collaborate with a writer who doesn't have any experience as a writer in writing a feature-length film or a story
ये मैं
as
पहले जवाब,
professional writers?
हाँ समझ गए, मैं ये पहले इसका चीज का जवाब देता हूँ। अ, एकदम ग्रीन के साथ मैं अभी कोलैबोरेट नहीं कर पाऊंगा बिकॉज ऑफ माय कमिटमेंट्स। करेक्ट।
Hmm.
The things that I can keep an eye out is look for rooms where there are assistant and associate writers needed.
Hmm.
So if you, मैं बता रहा हूँ कि to be in a room with writers and just to take notes, I think it'll teach you like 20 times more than you will learn.
Correct.
Mm, right now, I'm the junior writer in everything that I'm doing. So yeah,
Hmm.
sorry.
So are you
What about
taking
you, Saurabh sir?
are you taking notes? Sorry, I'm asking Shantanu. Are you taking notes from the seniors?
नो नो, उसमें एक असिस्टेंट राइटर है
अच्छा,
जो नोट्स ले रहा है, लेकिन मैं जेन्युइनली जूनियर राइटर हूँ।
okay. I don't believe that. You're considering yourself junior. People
I
don't.
if I'm sitting across a guy who's written 6 best-selling books,
Ah,
I wouldn't,
yeah,
वो तो होगा ही ना,
correct, correct.
and Ram Madhwani. So
Ashish, I'm always open to write with new writers because I have a lot of time as of now. but to be very honest, ऐसा नहीं है. बहुत सारे लोग पूछते हैं, and I'm writing with Devashish अभी, who is in this group and who is absolutely new. But what happens with me to make up a mind that whether I can write with someone new is I have to read their material. I have to read what they have written, and they should have written at least one feature film script all by themselves. भले चाहे वो
Okay.
खराब हो, भले चाहे वो बिल्कुल काम नहीं कर रही हो, doesn't matter. If they have finished 90-pager script all by themselves, अकेले लिखी है अगर तो मैं पढ़ सकता हूँ, and then I can take a call whether to work with them. क्योंकि अगर आपने अकेले एक स्क्रिप्ट भी फिनिश नहीं की है तो
Hmm.
आपको पहले वो एक अकेले बार वो प्रोसेस करना बहुत जरूरी है.
Okay.
भले चाहे वो खराब हो एकदम, डजंट मैटर, वो मेरे लिए प्रीरिक्विजिट है. Yeah, so we're going to take second last question from Vishal, and then I will ask the last question.
Hi, Shantanu. One question that I wanted to know, can you define the job responsibilities of an assistant writer and an associate writer? Swarnima was an associate in one
हाँ,
project.
so primarily make a list of things that need to be researched in the next meeting. Take notes of whatever new ideas, new characters have been discussed in that session. That's pretty much it.
That is the job of the assistant writer or the associate writer,
Assistant.
right? assistant, and what are the job
Usually
responsibilities of?
associate writer usually कुछ होता नहीं, but then these are just two
correct.
writers. Yeah, assistant writer ऐसे ही होता.
Okay, okay.
बना दिया गया नया क्रेडिट.
अच्छा, और जो ये नोट्स बना रहे रिसर्च के लिए, the research is also done by the assistant writer, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless it's a hardcore, period drama or बहुत specific researcher, then we have a different researcher.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so there's one question that came to me by one of the speaker. He was not able to ask. So how do you prep for a narration? Because that's one thing that the writer feels like, hey, this is something I'm not able to all by myself. So is it really important for a writer to able to narrate?
See, a lot of writers believe it is not. It is not important to narrate, to know how to narrate. You're a writer. The definition of your work is in the name. You write the stuff. Somebody should be able to read it. Everyone should be able to read it. Actors, directors, producers, they should be able to read it and know what you've written and what it's about. I do not. I think if you can narrate, it really, really helps. I am a very good narrator. And I work really hard on it. Almost as hard as writing a scene, I need to prep again and again on how to narrate it. Unfortunately, the kind of people that we have to work with in this world, they either don't have the time to read, or they think it is beneath them to read something that's come. The kind of actors that we deal with, they have people who read out mails to them, forget a script.
Yeah.
It really helps to be passable is the wrong word, to be a good narrator. And I genuinely believe that please take out time, everyone, to prep, work hard on narration. सब मैं आपको गारंटी देता हूँ, it makes at least 40% difference in your meetings and your career.
If you know narration.
If you know how to narrate, मैं 40% की मेरी गारंटी है, ज्यादा भी हो सकता है.
Okay, great. Vishal, you raised the hand, so we are going to take the
Yeah. Can you just give us a brief insight how you prep for narration, and especially for screenplays? Can you skip a certain portions of the screenplay because they can be draggy in a narration, skip over for overall story? And how do you particularly prep for a narration? How do you judge where you are at your narrating skills?
करेक्ट. सो दो तरह की नरेशन है. एक तो स्टोरी लेवल की नरेशन होती है और एक पूरा स्क्रीन प्ले डायलॉग ड्राफ्ट की नरेशन होती है. उसके बीच टाइप की कोई बहुत कम होती है कि मैं एक थोड़ा लंबा ट्रीटमेंट नोट लिख के लाया हूँ, कि वो कम होती. बेसिक स्टोरी की एक 8-10 पेज की स्टोरी की नरेशन होती और एक फिर 90-100 पेज की स्क्रिप्ट की नरेशन. स्टोरी की नरेशन जो है उसमें माहौल बनाना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी होता है, क्योंकि उसमें आपके पास लिखे हुए डायलॉग्स नहीं है. स्टोरी की नरेशन में रेफरेंसेस और एग्जांपल्स देना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी होता है.
Okay.
कि आप बात करते हैं, मैं एक छोटे शहर की बात कर रहा हूँ, जौनपुर पकड़ लीजिए. आप देखा है जौनपुर? आपने कहीं, आपने सबसे छोटा शहर कौन सा देखा है? खड़गपुर. इस टाइप की आप एग्जांपल देके शुरू करें. और आपने वो देखी, वो हल्दीराम की भुजिया की एजेंसीज होती है. तो स्टोरी के टाइम पे आप थोड़ा एग्जांपल ज्यादा दीजिए, कैरेक्टर्स का भी एग्जांपल दीजिए, पॉपुलर कल्चर की चीजों में से निकाल के एग्जांपल दीजिए स्टोरी नरेशन, तो ताकि सुनने वाले की दुनिया बनाना आसान. ये एक, और आपको अपने आप को कहानी सुनानी है कम से कम नहीं तो 10 बार सुनाने से पहले, प्रेजेंट करने से पहले. एवरी टाइम आई प्रेजेंट आई नरेट इट एटलीस्ट थ्राइस टू माई सेल्फ. 100 पेज की स्क्रिप्ट में 3 बार अपने आप को सुनाता हूँ. और फिर टेबल है, उसके ऊपर मेरी एक ट्रॉफी रखी है जिसपे मेरे को बहुत प्यार आता है. तो ये मैं हाईलाइट करूँ सुनाने के लिए. तो
Okay.
ये तैयारी है.
Okay. And for a conventional, if you're pitching to a conventional producer, I mean, old school in certain ways, and you have a screenplay, right? But obviously, you know the story of it too. Uh, how do you decide what to narrate? Like story narrate करूँ तो will
स्टोरी
be a better thing.
स्टोरी.
Story. Okay.
मैं जो
Screenplay is
चीज ज्यादा अच्छे से तैयार है मैं वो प्रेजेंट करूंगा.
अगर दोनों इक्वली तरीके से तैयार हो एंड बिकॉज ओल्ड स्कूल प्रोड्यूसर है सो यू आर थिंकिंग क्योंकि स्क्रिप्ट तो पढ़ेंगे नहीं वो सो
नहीं,
वन यू कैन
मैं स्टोरी सुनाने में मेरे को फायदा ये है कि मेरे को ये पता है कि इस वाले पार्ट में वो ज्यादा रिस्पॉन्ड किया, तो आई गो बैक एंड आई बोल्स्टर माई स्क्रीन प्ले फॉर दैट पार्ट.
ओके ओके थैंक्स
इस किस्म के जोक पे वो ज्यादा हंसा, इस किस्म की चीजों से ज्यादा इमोशनल लगी, तो मैं जाके अगर वो थोड़ा 5-10% ऊपर नीचे करना है तो कर लूँ.
ओके ओके थैंक यू शांतनु थैंक्स अ लॉट
Okay. I think guys, we are done here. Shantanu, thanks a lot. It was so insightful. I mean, more than what I was actually expecting. It turns out to be far better. More than collaborative writing.
देखा ना, राइटर की जिंदगी यही है, कोई बोलने से पहले उसको अंडर एस्टिमेट ही करते रहते हैं सब.
I was not underestimating you. I was underestimating we will be able to cover only collaborative writing. But we covered a lot of things. So that I am very happy about. Thank you. But I'm going to pick you up again whenever you have time and we'll discuss about that non-fiction writing as well. Whenever. I mean, I know your deadline's running around, but I'll catch you up again.
Mid-November.
Sure. Definitely. Thank you. Thanks a lot,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.